Welcome, everyone. My name is Denis Maksimov. I am a curator of exhibitions and public programming in a Pushkin House, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all in this a bit of a horrible weather context outside. Thank you for making it here. Today, we're very excited to welcome Olga Logunova, who is the research associate at the King's College London and is an expert on the Russian social media, in general media landscape and comparative analysis of media landscape. Currently, she's also actively working on comparing the media landscape of the United Kingdom and Russia. And recently, she started to focus as well on the impact that media landscape has on the perception of the political discourse, and as well as on the shifts within the basic values that formulate the context of the ideological perception of reality. And that particularly is the reason why, when we had a very short first meeting with Olga, I thought it will be very interesting to listen her take on one of the maybe most talked about, at least in the Russian media landscape, event that happened several months ago in Russia as the ongoing full-scale invasion of Ukraine is happening. The certain event called the Almost Naked Party was organized in Moscow and became a bit of a meme, as it's called, and still produces a lot of memes. Funnily enough, a couple of days ago, I tried to Google that event, and then I tried to DuckDuckGo it, and I tried to Bing it in all the possible different search engines, and I tried to specifically find this notorious image of the sock, of the Balenciaga sock, and I could not find it actually. Which also I think is interesting, because it seems that the cleaning of that event is going on online as well, which also I hope we will touch upon the mechanisms of that particular process. But again, without further ado, Olga Logunova. And as per usual, we first will listen to Olga for about 45 to 50 minutes, and then we'll open the floor for conversation with you and for questions from the audience. Thank you so much, and welcome, Olga.
Okay. Good evening. I'm very happy to be here. As you know, my name is Olga Logunova, and thanks a lot for the opportunity to share today my research, my points of view, my ideas about celebrity studies. My passion is to understand how internet is organized, how it works, and it's a miracle when you have a light bulb moment from figures and find some insights which lead you to some improvement to your research, to your brand, to your consumer. So, where is, sorry. Oh, maybe I will be here. I'm deeply rooted in academic research, so I believe that scientific articles are insightful due to ideas which you can find here. And in one way or another, over the past decade, I have been researching how social media affects our society. And my main area of expertise is social media and celebrity studies. And for the last 10 years, I have been joking that I earned money by switching Instagram and reading Twitter. So during the preparation for today's presentation, I have even listened in Shaman, because he was one of the most popular musicians. I'm a little bit nervous, sorry. I will based on my paper, and I advise to listen to Shaman as well. originally, and I will talk about it later today. So my discussion today will consist of 4 main parts. We begin with intro and context. Then we go to some points about celebrity studies, about media landscape changes, and we will end with cancel culture and some explanation about the Almost Naked Party. So let's begin. When you are deeply involved in a topic and have been observing findings for a long time, they start creating a picture as an element of puzzle. And we will today do the same. So we will find some puzzles for the whole picture about social media in Russia. And I hope it doesn't seem boring to you. I try to do all my best. So I try to find a good position. Is it possible? Yeah, because it's hard to sit and say something for me. Sorry. Yeah. Although the semantic field of the term celebrity is quite understandable, they are cream of society, capable of consciously or unconsciously influencing the masses, public opinion, values, clothing, and so on. However, social science operated with a number of concepts to describe this group of people: elites, stars, bloggers, influencers. I'm sure you know some of them. And it looks like they're similar, but same but different. And yeah, great. Maybe it will be better. Thank you. So let's play. Let's play a game. I will show you some photos, and you need to name the person firstly, and then offer some concepts from the previous slide. So the first one, please. I was sure you would guess, but please name her. Taylor Swift, yes. The next slide, yeah. How can we name her in concepts of... No, please. Yeah. How can we name her? So we have some concept: celebrity, elites, influencer, blogger, stars, opinion leader. Star, obviously. What else? Celebrity, opinion leader, for the army of fans. Okay, the next one, please. Maybe anyone know who is... You are right. Yes. Please, next slide. Princess of the Netherlands. How can we name her? Elite. Well done. Yeah. It doesn't matter for our conversation today. Okay, one more. Okay, the next one. I have 2 more. Any guess? Any ideas? Okay, yeah. It's a Nobel Prize winner in economic this year. Yeah, and how can we name her? What do you think? Opinion leader. Exactly. I think she is celebrity for some niche group in her area. She's a Nobel Prize winner. So she had some achievements. And the last one. Dwayne Johnson, yeah. or Rock. Yeah, it's his second name. So it was the last one. And the next one, please. Celebrity is an endless topic, and you can flag it as a superficial topic. However, every celebrity is a significant opinion leader. He has an immense influence which can help you to disseminate information rapidly, shape public opinion, and it could help for your brand or any other stakeholders. When we are talking about celebrity, we are talking not only about the influence, but we are talking about millions of dollars. Just a couple of figures. $24 billion is influencer marketing market, and it equals 38 Dwayne Johnson sponsors posts every day during the year. So it's really hard to overestimate the impact of influencer in the current digital ecosystem. Today in Pushkin House, we will focus on the Russian market, on the Russian celebrity, and well-known recent cases of almost naked party. So our main hero will be this extraordinary case and its main heroes. But the party is just a trigger for the conversation about cultural elites and influencers in Russia. Who knows about the party? Some of you, okay. But I need just make a briefly description of the party and some consequences. Please, the next slide. So, Nastya Ivleeva is a Russian TV presenter, blogger, and the face of some well-known brands. In November 2023, she announced the party with almost naked dress code. And it took place on the night of December 21st at Moscow Club and caused widespread public backlash after photos from the event were published. So the consequences were numerous. All main participants like Nastya Ivleeva, Ksenia Sobchak, Philip Kirkorov were attempted to be cancelled by pro-state media. The Lefortovo Court of Moscow deems the party as propaganda of non-traditional sexual relations. Participants of the party issued public apologies and tried to explain themselves more than once. Nastya Ivleeva, as the organizer of the party, was fined $100. So the party participants like Lolita, Dmitry Bilan, Philip Kirkorov was cancelled on federal challenge during the New Year broadcasting, and contracts with Ivleeva were terminated by her main sponsor. So then, it's important for us, two party participants, Bilan and Kirkorov, went to the war zone in Donetsk People's Republic, and after which they were allowed back on national TV screens. So finally, a week ago, a protocol for discrediting the army against Ivleeva was begin. Yeah. So our main question today not only discuss the Almost Naked Party and its development, but our question is, what does the case of Almost Naked Party mean for Russian cultural elites in general? And let's spend 5 minutes recalling the next one, please. Key theories of celebrity studies. The next one, yeah, and one more. It's important to understand who these celebrities are and how they create their image and the impact they create on society. So, Jeffrey Alexander, the cultural anthropologist, compares celebrity to a mythical character, an idol, unreachable by the masses. And people tend to turn celebrities into icon figures, strive to be like them, and even worship them. We all remember the days of having the posters of our favorite musician all over our bedroom walls. So, thanks to the icon influence, celebrity gather people around themselves, involve groups of fans and followers, and become trendsetter. So, like Taylor Swift, with her fashion sense named Swifties, or for older generation, I hope you remember the Jennifer Aniston haircut, which was copied by the army of Friends fans around the world. So I hope that you have your favorite example of it, and this is a perfect example of mob mentality. Return to the Alexander explanation. Like other totemic symbols, the sacredness of the celebrity icon must be isolated and protected from the profane. The next slide, please. Moments when we see celebrity outside of their crafted image in ordinary life, for example, walking with children, shopping, buying something, undermine their sacredness. And this is why many celebrities strive to hide and protect their everyday life. Professor Penfold refines and supplements the concept of uniqueness and extraordinariness of celebrity. So a celebrity is a person who we want to be, who we want to become, who we want to resemble. And on one hand, they need to be typical enough to remain recognizable and accessible. On the other hand, they must be individual enough to maintain their uniqueness and extraordinaries. So it's important to point out that this group is closed. It's significant effort to be accepted. And this definition of classic celebrity, of idol, is relevant now, but with the transition to active use of social media, the next one, the current digital sphere has allowed a new group to exist, the digital celebrity. And one more. They gain fame specifically through social media. So now digital celebrity become like a continuum of practices that you can make with a mobile phone just to produce a content constantly, and it's not so hard. So you don't need to have some charisma or some talent or anything else like idol. So all that you need is Insta-famous, and it consists of self-branding, expertise, and emotional bonding with the audience. So maybe the next one, I think. Now we can observe that both concept, I mean celebrity as idol and celebrity as digital icon, are valid. So stars like King Charles or Ronaldo continue to be icon, but there are so many niche influencers who are popular on TikTok or Reddit or anywhere. So I'd like to illustrate this statement, but before that I need to introduce some research tools which we can use to analyze. So now we know a little bit about celebrity, some theoretical concept, but we need to know how could we measure them. And there are three main approaches. So the first one, we can analyze online presence of a celebrity. So as we know now, as you know, I hope, celebrity representations online represent themselves online, and we need to deconstruct the image they create. It's the first approach, and here we can analyze their content, the number of likes, views, comments, or something like this. The second approach, it's about media conversation about celebrity. So it's about how we, as their audience, think about it, mention them in memes, in some posts from their concerts or something like this. And the last one, it's data from audience surveys. So we can evaluate celebrity image and trust among some audiences, some target group. So now, the next one, we are ready to return to our puzzle about celebrity, and I would like to illustrate the point about different categories of fame by my research. So we conducted research in 2021 with my partner in crime, Pavel Lebedev. He's here today. And we detected the differences in social media activities between post-based celebrities and person-based celebrities. So what it means? Person-based celebrities, it's our idols, so we know them, and post-based celebrities made by their content. So we can see it, please, the next slide, by this chart. So this graph illustrates celebrities. For example, the leader is Kira Simurina, who made 11 posts per day. It's average amount of her publication, and it's a good example of post-based fame. So she made so many publications, so many posts, like Karina Lazaryan's, like Kirill Kolesnikov. They made more than 7 posts per day. And on the other hand, there are some musicians like Igor Krid and Klava Koka, for example, or TV presenters Regina Todorenko and Nastya Ivleeva, who made 1 or 2 posts per day. So it's enough for them. Their fame, person-based fame. And it's crucial that celebrities can combine ordinariness and extraordinariness. At the same time, it's like a circle of life. The evolution of celebrity is cycling, and from ordinary people, they could switch to icons and sometimes again to ordinary. So it's essential and fruitful to combine both sides. Ivleeva, for example, like an example, the next one, she could be like an ordinary people with bad head. Then she can manifest it herself as an extraordinary person with extraordinary parties and outfit, and then again became an ordinary person with tears, with apologize. It's okay. So it was our first part. So let's move to the media landscape and changes. The Russian social media landscape was very unique. The next one, due to coexisting global and local digital platform, it's much more competitive. Significant audiences have been accumulated by domestic players like ВКонтакте and Одноклассники. In March 2022, Meta was declared as extremist organization in Russia, and Roskomnadzor blocked access to Facebook and Instagram, and it leads to the rise of Telegram. So it became the main beneficiary of audience migration from Meta's platform. And it's the first trend. So Telegram became the first one platform. So you can continue to use Facebook or Instagram, but it's really hard for users. The second important trend is deplatformization from global to local platforms. this applies to celebrities too. So all opinion leaders are forced to move on Telegram and VKontakte, maybe activated their VKontakte profile. So the next slide illustrates this trend by Ivleeva strategies, which were changed after the beginning of war. She used mono-oriented platform, and she has a dominant share of posts, 92%, on Instagram. So here you can see that after the beginning of war, her VKontakte profile was activated, that's supported by other celebrities. So generally, social media landscape shifts more significant consequences to the whole celebrity markets, and you can see it on the next slide. How it works. So the media landscape impact on celebrity we can see in additional efforts and budgets for adaptation to new platforms, new content type. Sometimes it's about new topics. It's also about reducing earnings due to Instagram bans and the limitation of budgets from brands. Now there is no anchor platform for person brand maintenance, so it was Instagram for the majority of celebrity in Russia. Also censorship due to new laws, and you need to understand every time what allowed to be discussed and what not. And finally, the polarization of society and celebrities we can observe now. As a result, now we have a new world in Russian social media and new heroes. Let's play one more game shortly. My task will be about the new heroes, who is the most popular celebrity now in Russia. So before I show the data about content of celebrity, and now we are looking to the mentions of them. So if you remember, it is the second approach to measure celebrities. So please, the next slide. My question is, who are the leaders by the volume of online conversations? So who is the person which create the most number of mentions? Who was discussed? What do you think there is? Yes. Yeah. On Russian social media, among cultural celebrity. So today we are talking about cultural elite, cultural celebrities. So what do you think? Who is on the top 3? Any suggestions? Maybe. Ida Galich. Okay, what else? Any guess? Pugacheva. Great. It's not cultural celebrity, but he is on the list. Putin is a superstar. He has the first position. Yeah, exactly. He is the first one, and his mention is about 200,000 or 300,000 per day. Yeah, in Russian social media. Yeah, but among cultural celebrities. Okay, but it's not cultural celebrity. Yeah. Kirkorov. Okay, so let me introduce top 3. The first one The first one. Yes. The first one is shaman, and his mentions for last 1.5 months about 500,000. So it's not so big in comparison to political stars, but it's quite enough, and it is the number one among cultural celebrity. So today we are today we are at Pushkin House, and Pushkin goes next to the shaman, unfortunately. Yeah. So shaman has the 9th position in the whole ratings. Yeah. So the number 2, you were right, yeah, Alla Pugacheva. And her popularity is visible, and the number 3rd, thank you for your guess, Philipp Kirkorov. So there is top 3. I will repeat one more time how we measure this data. And the next graphs show that their mentions are not static. So there are spikes and valleys, and there are some additional figures, but they are accidentally with some specific agenda, like Ivleeva, like Stas Mikhailov during the celebration of the Women's Day or something like this. Diana Arbenina, for example, with the cancellation of her concert, but it's accidentally. The main heroes are here, Shaman, Pugacheva, and Kirkorov. And some words about this data. So it's based on brand analytics, and it's open data, so you can find some additional names if you are interested in. And this figure has a number of mentions of celebrity by ordinary users. It's all media conversation about them in public discourse, memes with celebrity, posts about the concert or something like this, and it's relevant instrument to measure the level of popularity and visibility. And here on the chart, one notable spike in attention involves the discussion around the Crocus City tragedy and the promise made by shaman to cover the funeral expenses for every victims of this tragedy, and the subsequent retraction of this promise led to negative discourse about him. Another example is the spike of Pugacheva mentions, and it was her 75th birthday anniversary with a lot of congratulations and mentions. So it was her main, it was one of the most actively mentioned topic on this day. So this data demonstrate current trends in media agenda, but all this allows us to conclude some statements about cultural elite in Russian social media now. So the next one. Cultural elite is traditionally important segment of public figures. And if before there were digital celebrity like Olga Buzova, Morgenstern, who was really discussed among social media users, now we can observe noticeable politicization underlying celebrity visibilities. So we see Shaman, Kirkorov, Pugacheva, and other episodic appearance of some additional person. And in this sense, we can define deprofessionalization of politics. So cultural elite act as a service staff for politicians, for political discourse, and followed by the mediatization of the political sphere in general. So I have one more piece of evidence for this point on the next slide, I hope. Yeah, it's one more data. It's one of the last one data, sorry. We have so many figures today. It is the last one approach to evaluate, to measure celebrity. So it's data from Ramir. It's one of the research company in Russia. And they make survey 2 or 4 times a year. They measure the trust to different celebrities, to different person. And here we can see the leaders and the differences between autumn 2023, before the Almost Naked Party, and winter 2024. So some significant statement about this. Leaders to remain the same since the first time, and since the first time I saw this data 4 years ago. So there are 2 main, you said about Solovyov, yeah? There are 2 main TV presenters, Solovyov and Malakhov, and an actor, Konstantin Khabensky. Number 2, when people begin to associate with pro-power discourse and support the authorities, they go up. So it's growing up for Shaman, it's going up for Mashkov, for example, here. And at the same time, there are some actions in opposition, like Pugacheva, for example, or some alternative agenda, like an Almost Naked Party, like Kirkorov and Ivleeva. So they go down. Ivleeva doesn't present in recent rating. However, in winter 2022, she was on 26th place because she was a very popular digital celebrity. And her trust was higher. One of the reasons for it is different type of cancellation towards any public figures from not just society, but from the state-affiliated structure like federal channels, Russian Today or something like this. And we need to define exactly what cancel culture is. On the next slide, it is the last piece of the puzzle for today's picture. And most simply, canceling involves diminishing the reputation of a person or entity based on behavior perceived to be offensive to someone. Usually, it includes polarization of society, polarization of public opinion, dismissal, and social media hate. You know how it looks like. Unfortunately, cancel culture clearly means different thing by the term. And in fact, there are divergent views of cancel culture. So the next slide illustrates it quite well. Some see canceling as a form of accountability for those in power. By contrast, some see it as taking away the right to free speech. And promoting accountability while protecting free speech is a central moral tension in today's democratic society. So in short, the contemporary usage of cancel culture is driven by the attention economy and also based on social media power to shape the navigation of blame and accountability. I like the explanation of linguist Annie Hadley describes the similarities like this. So when you see people canceling anyone, it's a collective way of saying, we elevated your social status, your economic power, and now we don't have enough power to do something. I may have no power, but the power I have is to ignore. And it's a key reaction of the society originally. It's not about the canceling from, it's not about the number of mentions. It's about the ignorance of any person who was accountable, for example. But the borrowed cancel culture is used instrumentally in Russia and emanates not from society, but in majority case from the state-affiliated structure, which enriches the repressive arsenal. And so now I hope that we have enough about knowledge about celebrity, about their measurement and cancel culture. And the next slide. Take all these points into account. I will try to offer some explanation models for the case which we discussed today. So now we see the picture where all participants like Philipp Kirkorov, Nastya Ivleeva, Ksenia Sobchak, Lolita, they are true stars, they are idols. They are expected to emphasize their uniqueness and extraordinariness, which is important characteristic of their status. So they are icons like fair birds from Alexander Paradise Garden. And they are allowed more than ordinary people. This has always been the case. And however, the event triggered the Russian authorities who decided to apply the coordinate system of ordinary people to the stars, to the idols, stating that such behavior is unacceptable, even for them, even for idols. So firstly, the more obvious explanation is that the military context is crucial for the whole society. Russia is at war. Even parties are now prohibited. And such events have been held almost every Friday for decades, but no one paid attention to it. But look at sudden sharp disapproval that has emerged now. Thus, the moral landscape is changing. In this view, after Russian invasion of Ukraine, the country needs to maintain order and cannot allow internal discord. So the second explanation is fight to traditional values, family, religion, and contrasting them with Western models. And deputies, patriotic organization, war correspondents demanded that the party be checked for LGBTQ+ propaganda, drugs, and extremism. And the third point, the persecution is related to the desire to redirect public negativity towards celebrity in order to divert public attention from other significant events and problems like refusal to allow Ekaterina Duntsova participate in the Russian presidential election, important internal and external events like rising food prices or other economic problems. And it's always nice to discuss celebrities. So it serves as a form of entertainment. And now we just have some final slides about conclusions and maybe ideas for our discussion. I divided it into 3 groups. The first one is about media in general. So we see noticeable polarization of media consumption, including choice of opinion leaders due to media censorship and the limitation of digital platforms. The personal and media narrative constantly fluctuate following the changing context. We don't know who are the leaders now, who we need to follow. And polarization is forced by governance, and the shift in coordinates is unpredictable. So now we don't have any coordinate system, unfortunately. The next scope will be about celebrities. So cultural elites, as I illustrated, become a significant part of politics with their further deprofessionalization of public politics. And new organic and free celebrities are not possible now, only with TV or some other connections. Authorities force silent celebrity to become visible and support the war, maintaining the dominant narrative, the pro-government discourse. And now every celebrity status is uncertain. And the last one is about influencer market, influencer industry. Previously, the authorities paid for advertising with celebrities. It was used for a long time. But now they intimidate and even coerce them. There are fewer creative opportunities due to a narrow range of accessible platform models. So now we don't have enough digital platforms to produce content, to find our users and subscribers. And this leads to reduced competition, lower content quality, and fewer innovations. And the last but not least, closing discussions and comments undermine post-based fame. So now we don't have new organic celebrity like my favorite guy, Dani Milokhin, if you remember him, in such contemporary current social media system. So thank you so much. The last slide. I will be happy to answer the question. You are welcome. Thank you for your attention. Okay.
Thank you so much. Just a second, I'll install myself next. Thank you so much, Olga, for this presentation. And before we turn to the audience for questions, I have actually a first question that came up to my mind as I was looking at your data, actually. So we all know about the existence of the institutions like Russian Internet Agency, Research Internet, how it's called, Internet Research Agency, the institutions that exist a little bit in the shadow that drives those likes, drive those attention, let's say, markers to a particular characters that are ideologically convenient to power. So I wonder, within your research or within the scope of what you work on social media, could you tell us something about exactly those manipulations of those perceptions and how much we can trust those data that we see that coming up from the agencies of that kind? Can it be manipulated for some reason or the other?
Could you one more time say about what research organization you mean?
I meant I don't know if that particular organization participates in what I mean, but it's basically near present administration of Russia unit that is dealing with the manipulation of the media landscape. For example, organizes DOS attacks on the websites or any other types of interventions into the digital landscape of Russia. So I wonder if there is any data that suggests that this type of organizations can also manipulate with the visible popularity of particular figures. And for example, shaman, this figure of that shaman, of that sort of neo-fascist singer, those particular spikes in his popularity, how real they are, that's my question.
So I think that the data about shaman is a good example. What do you mean? Because the data about the mentions of any person in social media, it's not just the result of Kremlin bot, if you mean something like this. So maybe there are some part of it, but it's not necessary, because there are a lot of educational organizations, for example, who create a lot of content about any event with shaman, but it's not about cultural elites. It works for the political narratives and pro-authorities discourse in general. So when we are talking about the number of mentions, maybe there are some bot publication, but originally there are so many users content, and for the majority case they are real. Now there are a lot of research about how Kremlin bot organized, what type of information, misinformation, disinformation they disseminate. But it's not only the propaganda. It's not obvious about, it's not only about non-organic content. So I'm sure that unfortunately there are so many opinions from population as well.
Any question from the audience? Yes.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentation. A question that probably doesn't have an answer, but I still would love to know your opinion. We see the aftermath of the whole thing, and we know that they defended traditional values, they frightened those bloggers, they attacked them. But initially, what do you think was the first thing that they thought about when they decided to launch the whole campaign? Were they like, okay, let's distract the people from the war? Or were they like, they've become too free, let's tell them that they cannot be that free? Or they were like, oh, this is very non-traditional values, we should be defending those. So what do you think was the kind of first domino that started the whole thing? Thanks.
Thank you, it's a good question. I think sometimes I think that there are any logic, and we can't use our coordinate system for understanding how it works. So what we know is data. There are no so much data now about Russia and from Russia, and social media data is one of the most relevant from my point of view, but maybe it's my transformation, my professional transformation. What we know that we can observe some spikes due to alternative or opposition activities, as Shaman and Pugacheva. On the other side, there are some events that the government can't control. For example, the death of Navalny. It was a unique case when the number of mentions another person than Putin were exist. So, for example, at the same time, the mention of Putin was also increased. So there are so many publications where Navalny and Putin was together, for example. And on the other side, maybe it was 3 or 5 days after the death, after Navalny's death, where Putin made his federal conversation, how we can name it? Press conference. It will be let it be a press conference.
The address to federal, the
Yeah,
address to the parliament.
That's address to
the
federal parliament, yeah. And as usual, the mentions of Putin is about 200,000 or 300,000 at the day of his conversation with federal was about 500,000 or 600,000. So it's huge amount of mention. And now we don't have, unfortunately, information which kind of mentions there were. So there are a lot of mentions from media, from regional media, from federal media, it doesn't matter. But we see the power of media here. And it's quite good controlled by governance.
Thanks so much for the presentation. It's really interesting. I'm curious to understand your perspective of where user-generated content is factored into this, because I totally agree with one of your conclusions that there are no new celebrities anymore. And I think not just in Russia, but globally, one of those reasons is because anybody can post a TikTok video these days, and more consumers of social media are themselves creators of the content that exists on those platforms. But I have no idea how it is unique in Russia. So would you mind giving your opinion on how user-generated content may have changed the media landscape in Russia?
Good question, thank you. I think that now it's time for ordinary people's celebrity. So, for example, now I followed some examples of people who have the ordinary life in some Russian village or something like this. And if 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were impressed by some extraordinaries like Dani Milokhin, he was really popular, or Instasamka, for example, yeah. It was possible to create a lot of funny content, and it was great. Celebrity is artificial topic, as we know. But now it's time for ordinary people. I think it will be one of the key persons who will be popular, and it's safe area for everyone now.
Olga, thank you for your presentation. I learned from your last slide that the authorities were paying celebrities for advertising. This is interesting and new information for me. So what was that relationship like before the Naked Party, and what can you just explain that a little bit more? The relationship between these celebrities and the government or public authorities.
Okay. So here I mean I try to conclude some statements about influence market, and there were some rules like an market economy. So you need to pay for the concert, for the posts, for example, and it works for both sides. So, for example, I don't know, I think that Buzova was one of the supporter of president for a long time, but we had so many good examples after Almost Naked Party with some participants like Ivleeva, who said, for example, that she was really impressed with president conversation to federal committee, for example. But if we listen to her interview to Yuri Dud, for example, and he has his favorite question, what you said, what you will tell to Putin when you will have such opportunity. She was she was not so optimistic about his about his plans, about his behavior. So, for example, and now it was free from her side.
So you also mean that celebrities perform a kind of allegiance to the state at the moment when it's convenient for their survival, to some extent, in that context.
To their survival, to their visibility, for their audience. Yeah, because the consequences for Ivleeva and Kirkorov and Bilan, for example, who have to make some concerts for the war zone, for example, it was public, it was visible, and only after these actions they will return to the public area, public sphere.
And do you think that let's say that indulgence that they're meant to purchase for the scenes that they committed by attending an Almost Naked Party was some sort of a very organized transaction? So, for example, they were called and told to go and perform in Donetsk, for example, or it's something that they themselves have to come up with and invent a way to buy their, let's say, ticket out of the doghouse with the state because of the attendance of this event?
It looks like it was the agreement between both sides, so it was a win-win, something like this.
Thank you. I might be going back to the first question, but I've done some research into the Hungarian influencer social media companies, and I was just very interested whether when you are conducting research and looking at different independent influencers, and when it comes to government organized NGOs or let's say NGOs that might be standing behind them, at least in Hungary that's the case, that there are huge organizations that are funded by the government. Unofficially, these are NGOs, and these NGOs actually organized all the influencer activities on social media. And I was just wondering whether there is something like that in Russia, where you see, I know the internet research agency that exists, but it's more about astroturfing and a lot of different social, basically to strengthen the pro-government narrative. But I was wondering whether in your research you think it's possible to link influencers to any non-government organizations, and if it's possible, could you explain anything about the Russian media landscape and whether these organizations exist that kind of hold together all these influencers or are backing the influencers to, especially when it comes to crisis, it seems that the government is really willing to spend a lot on these NGOs to strengthen pro-government voices. So I was just wondering whether you see anything like that.
Thank you for your question. I think that we have some experience with NGO organization in Russia as well. I think that one of the most famous and well-known celebrity who works with it is Natalia Vodyanova, with her marathons, like Naked Hearts, or something like this. Her organization name,
Naked Hearts.
Naked Hearts, yes, I think so. So it's like an also naked, but it is possible. So it exists, but now there is no much attention to these issues. I think that now the most popular NGO organization in Russia, they should connect with some military purposes or something like this to protect families of participants of the war, something like this. I think so. So I don't know about it more.
So these influencers operate outside of any kind of organized activity. They are all independent influencers deciding on their own what kind of content they are putting out on social media.
I think that they could be independent, and it's like a fashion trend. It's like a trend because a lot of Russian celebrities has their own charity organization. For example, like Habensky that was mentioned has a fund for children, and so many stars activate and organized some specific foundation for medical issues. I think that medical issues is one of the most popular.
And also to follow up a bit on that question, we are all aware maybe about the, indeed sort of this, maybe you meant the social media herders, sort of those companies, and sometimes they're private companies that are organizing influencers by messaging them for a particular vector of message. So for example, it's almost an open call, who can make a video featuring this or that, or saying this and that. Do you think this kind of organizations or this kind of companies, actually commercial companies, are now also proliferating in Russia, especially with the raising demand of, let's say, demonstrating or manifesting the national unity around, you know, the supernova of the social media? Not to be named, everybody understands.
I don't know. The first organization which goes to mind is President and Administration, and that's it.
Any other question? Yeah.
I had a question. I'm interested, I mean, I'm from Brazil, and I suppose that informs my question. So I'm interested in how, I mean, you meant the coordinates are fuzzy and often undefined on what is cancelable and not. And I suppose in the West the same, as, you know, these are things, what is platformed and not platformed are often decisions of these multi-conglomerates that dominate social media in the West. So we see it on both sides of the spectrum, you know, with Meta deplatforming pro-Palestine voices and then those migrating to TikTok. So and in Brazil, with the mandatory deplatforming of extreme right-wing voices in Twitter and those migrating to Telegram. So I'm wondering if in Russia, is there a similar phenomenon where these cancelled voices utilize the multi-platform, even if reduced, the multi-platform framework to evade some of these cancellations?
Very good question. And multi-platform strategy is the key for their further activity. So usually, I'm not sure that I have additional slide. I think it was hide. Every celebrity has several platforms. For Russia, before war, there were, as usual, Instagram, sometimes VKontakte, TikTok, that was very popular. And additionally, it could be Twitter or Facebook, something like this. But it was really hard to use all of them. So we researched this question, and we find during our research on 20 and 21 that celebrity used 3 platforms. So the first one is mono-oriented platform, as Ivleeva. She has the majority of her posts on Instagram. The second one was the platform where celebrity use equal 2 platforms, for example, Instagram and TikTok as usual, because this content is similar and it was easy to do it. And only 2 celebrities, Katya Adushkina, maybe someone know her, and Klava Koka, it is a musician, has had multi-platform strategy, because it's really expensive, because you need to create different types of content for TikTok, for Instagram, and for VK. You need texts and photos and videos, so it's really hard. But now, after bans, after Meta ban, celebrity have to do this. So they have to make a lot of content, because they need to go to Telegram, and it's very hard to create something from musician for Telegram. So they use кружочки for everything. They begin to write texts for their subscribers, but as I remember, now the most popular Telegram channels are Solovyov, Ridovka, and something like this, the third one, RIA Novosti. So Telegram is a platform for news. But if we are talking about celebrities, popular opinion leaders, only Ksenia Borodina have to create a successful Telegram channels with more than 1 million subscribers. So Roman Kadyrov, for example, has, please double check, but as I remember, Ramzan Kadyrov has 2 million subscribers on Telegram, for example. I'm a subscriber as well, and he had he makes 2 or 3 posts per day with some congratulations to his colleagues. So he is really active, and he is on the top 10 among Telegram channels, for example, but not Olga Buzova, who was announced her Telegram for some months, or I don't know who, Dani Milokhin. It's hard for them, but sometimes it's also possible.
Quick question: as you start clamping down on social media, does it become harder to assess organic thought within Russia as well? Surely that's an important component of social media, the ability to take the pulse of the nation. And presumably there are other avenues for that. But I just thought it's really important for the Kremlin, say, to understand how various directives are taken by the public. And I think in a way it does constrain social media. It enhances power on one hand, but also it potentially blinds the administration. So I just wonder whether it's a valid thought, and yeah, whether you have any thoughts on that.
I think that Kremlin understands the power of social media, and it looks like I'm not sure that it's a strategy. So we have so many activity and so many decisions about social media landscape which were made accidentally after different events, like our case or some discussions about war. So, but during last 2 years, we have a number of laws about internet. So the law about fake news. We have additional attention, maybe, to the celebrity, to opinion leaders as well. So I hope that there is no any strategy, but but we will know about it. At the same time, I believe in social media data, because despite of bots, fake news, misinformation, we can observe some trends, and it works, and it doesn't matter how many attack was created by government. So if the event, if the agenda is really important for the users, for the internet users, it will be in social media and in Russia as well.
Any other, maybe last question? Okay, then we can continue the conversation in informal way as per usual over the continuous drinks in the bar. Olga is also still with us.
Just a couple of words. Thank you very much. It was my first public lecture here in London, and thank you very much for your support. I'm better that I was here today. I really in love with social media data, and I will be very happy to discuss it, to make some additional research or something like this, because I really believe on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.